I think the main thing is making sure that whoever I'm working with, like, they just feel like, yo, E brought out the best of me. She gave me her 100%. I always felt like she was there, she was present, and we were able to do something impactful. My name is Ericka Coulter. I am Senior Vice President of A&R at Warner Records and the founder of TheBasement Series in Los Angeles. I am from Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County. I grew up in the church. My parents kept me very active. If it wasn't singing, it was dancing, it was piano lessons, it was everything to keep you busy. And you couldn't tell me that I wasn't gonna be the next Yolanda Adams. Like, I was singing Riding Through the Storm, The Battle Is Not Yours. And so that was just like my found of love, just to see people's reaction and to know that, you know, this gift could touch other people. That was something that I really wanted to pursue. So I thought. My mom always put a map in front of me and my brother when it came time for spring break, and she would always be like, pick somewhere you guys wanted to go. We would pick LA, and we picked it a couple times to the point that, like, as a kid, this was just something that I loved. Very early on, I knew that LA was somewhere that I wanted to be. What I was gonna be doing when I got here, I wasn't sure yet, but I just knew I had to get here. So as soon as I graduated from high school, got into college and kind of hit the ground running. Graduated from college, got a really good job, realized I was bored and it wasn't my calling, and so I quit. And I remember calling my mom and telling her, like, this just isn't it for me. And she was like, well, just come home. And I was like, yeah, but that's not what I meant. Like, no, we gonna figure this out. And so I went and applied to Cal State Dominguez for a class for $20 because I needed a credit in order to get an internship. And I got an internship at Interscope Records. And that was kind of like my beginning of seeing a different side of the music industry, from an executive side, from the creative side, that was like, okay, I might be able to do this. I remember meeting Marlon Singleton and Troy Marshall. They were over the internship program and also over the promo division at Interscope. It was events, it was 50 Cent, it was Lady Gaga. It was just all these different things that were going on that I was just like, yo, like, this is amazing. I wanna do this. You can get paid to have fun? Sign me up. Fast forward, I end up becoming the assistant to the president of Urban Music, which was Step Johnson. And Step Johnson was a person that, like, you had to answer the phones, you had to be on it. Like, if it wasn't Snoop Dogg calling, it was Chris Lighty. And so you just had to be prepared. And I still had this really, like, my Midwest accent. And so I would answer the phone and I'd be like, hi, Steph Johnson's office, how can I help you? And I never forget, somebody was like, who the hell is this? You just sound happy to have a job. Like, who are you? I've never heard you answer the phone before. And I was like, I'm Ericka Coulter. And he was like, okay, I like you. And that person ended up being Clarence Avant, which is the Black Godfather. As far as, like, having people saying, like, who was your mentor? Who are the people that you could look up to? That was a person that I can say always just called to check on me. If he invited me to dinners and things like that with other people, always made me feel like I was supposed to be there. And that always lives with me, to know that even in my most uncomfortable, vulnerable moments, I'm supposed to be here. What it's gonna be, how it's gonna be, not sure yet, but you're supposed to be here. Artist repertoire. I think people sometimes don't understand exactly what the title of an A&R is, and we play a lot of different roles because we're the first person most of the time to meet the artist. So it's my passion, it's my drive that's usually going into a building to be like, we have to sign this artist, and this is why. So for marketing, for all the other departments who are amazing, they're also going off of why I did it. And so I think sometimes that may get a little bit, you know, confusing as to, like, oh, we just in the studio just doing X, Y, and Z. I wish it was just that. It's a whole other world that you have to also do when you leave the studio. And I think when you see career-breaking artists from our past or even now, you have to really look at, like, the things that came about. And it was a story. Like, what was the team behind them to help carry that story to where it is today? And that is an A&R, and that's marketing, that's everybody, but it starts with us. So after 5 years, as I was transitioning out of Interscope Records and going into the next calling that God had for me, had no idea that it was gonna be management. And I met an amazing, talented producer by the name of Harmony Samuels. And at that time, he had just finished doing Ariana Grande, Fantasia. Long story short, I ended up being his manager. And so from there, we were able to, you know, just break down doors, do different things, make incredible records. And that was my introduction to Epic Records. I was at Epic Records for 6 years. My journey at Epic was incredible. Sylvia Rome, still to this day, is the Sylvia Rome. If you would have asked me before, when I was in Kansas City, if there were different people that I looked up to, she was always on my vision board. So to finally get to work with her and understand how someone could be that magical and be in this industry for this long, those are gems and moments that like I will never ever take back, you know? Sylvia had asked me we had a showcase one day and she was like, I need you to be there. She didn't say who the artist was or anything like that. She was just like, I need you there. There was a guy playing the keys, and then there was another gentleman that got on the mic, and that was Giveon. And I remember this tone just being beautiful. Him just being him, singing. And so it was kind of like, oh, I get this. I see exactly what this can be. And he already had an amazing team. He signed to Seven Thomas, who's an incredible producer. And so the formula of things were already there. It was just putting together the pieces and us actually making the project take time. And I think what shifted culture is because it came out during COVID. Like, I never forget, we played the project to the entire label, and the next day we evacuated the building, and we never went back. And I remember Giveon being like, okay, so like, who gonna listen to my project? Like, the world, we don't know what's about to happen in the world, what's happening. And I think it was just a beautiful moment because everyone literally had time to listen. Those lyrics, the words, his voice, it all just felt like something different, you know, during that moment of time. I was at Epic, and I remember going to LA Reid's office, and I was just talking to him, and I was like, yo, you know, I feel like the presence in Los Angeles right now, as far as finding new talent, it just was non-existent. Like, where could you pull up to if it wasn't like already an event for a particular artist? Where could you just go to find new artists that you just hadn't tapped into? For myself, being a young A&R, it was like, I got new artists that need to go perform somewhere. Not all of them are getting booked on a tour. Like, how are people supposed to know that they're out here? That's what made me come up with The Basement. And I remember talking to my brother, and I was like, I want to do this thing, but I don't have the name of it. And he was like, well, think about it. When somebody's ever talking about like pulling out things from the vault, where are they pulling it from? They're pulling it from The Basement. A friend of mine was working with Tanqueray, the brand, and I remember getting on the phone with them, and I was like, hey, I'm doing this event. And I remember the guy being like, I have no idea what this is, but you sound really excited, so I'm gonna give you $5,000. Like, take this money, do what you gotta do. And that's how I started The Basement, with that $5,000 check. I'm really big on partnering with people that also have the same objective as we do. How can we push to help these emerging artists? There has to be different ways of promotion. Everything is changing. If you're in this room, if you leave this stage there, if you don't have a manager, if you don't have an attorney, if there's a producer that you've been trying to tap into, this is gonna be the room for you to be able to do that. And you know, we've been able to have artists that meet their managers. We've been able to have artists that get record deals. Opportunity is great from anywhere it comes from. And so, you know, if it can come from The Basement, icing on the cake. My advice to an artist looking to get into the industry: make sure you're ready to be able to do everything. Don't just be like, here's my music, here you go. Here's my music, here's my plan. This is the vision that I see for myself. In 5 years, these are the stages that I need to be on. Have it to the point that all I have to do is help you elevate. I'm looking for the eye of the tiger. I want someone who understands who they are as an artist. You don't have to have all the answers, but I need you to know who you are. Getting through the door is not actually the hard part. The hard part is making sure you understand who you are as an artist.